We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. Yo, it's game day, stadium packed, feel that rush. From Boise to App State, man, we never hush. Rocking the colors, yeah, we bleed that pride. Cinderella stories, watch our dreams collide. Late nights, bright lights, we grind every play. Underrated talent, we gon' make them say, who's that team when we come to town? Representing for the schools that wear the crown. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. Yo, it's game day, stadium packed, feel that rush. From Boise to App State, man, we never hush. Rocking the colors, yeah, we bleed that pride. Cinderella stories, watch our dreams collide. Late nights, bright lights, we grind every play. Underrated talent, we gon' make them say, who's that team when we come to town? Representing for the schools that wear the crown. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. We the ones they the ones they can't skip. Fighting for respect, it's a tough road ahead. But we pack that heart and we never dread. Late hits and big plays, we bring in the heat. Watch out for the G5, we can't be beat. From the MAC to the Sun Belt, we don't back down. In this football jungle, we wear the crown. All the doubters sleeping, but we making noise. In the G5 Hive, we the realest boys. When the clock's ticking down, we the ones to believe. One play, one chance, we gon' make them achieve. From the sidelines to the end zone, hear that roar. In the G5 Hive, we always wantin' more. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. So raise your flags high, let them wave in the air. In the G5 Hive, we the squad that's rare. With heart and grit, we rewriting the script. In the world of college football, we the ones they can't skip. Yeah.
Here's Navarro on the run. Navarro's going to keep it. Navarro for 6! Touchdown, Bobcat!
I feel I had a hard time staying in my own lane.
Oh my goodness! Brett Murdoch! Pick 6!
Harvath inside the 30, the 20. Blake Harvath will score!
And Mendoza takes a big hit. He never saw it coming. Trey White got in there.
There's his man, Rucker. And nobody's going to catch him. Goodbye.
Intercepted!
Tyree Skipper, touchdown!
Telly again, why not? A step forward and make it 2 for Telly!
Quarterback keeper showing off the speed, steps on the gas, untouched!
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive, where we bring you the G5 college football coverage you love each and every week. I'm Luke. I'm back after a week out, joined by my co-host, Justice. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, a retweet. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review. Justice, we're like 5 minutes behind schedule. That's on me. We got to make it up. We got to go fast and furious. But before we go any further, I guess quick tee the audience up for tonight, and then we've got a huge announcement. So tonight we're going to bring you up to speed on news around the G5, review what went down in Week 8, set you guys up for success with our Week 9 previews, and then we close our thing out with our waiver wire honey for those that play college fantasy football. Our 2020 players explanation will not be on the show, but we will tweet out the graphics from X and Instagram. Tuesday will be offense. Defense will be Wednesday. The one thing caveat I would like to put with that, because I've seen comments They are not results for that week. They are results cumulative for the season. So while it says week 7, week 8, whatever, it's not that actual week. It is up through week 7, up through week 8. So that's a quick caveat here. So, Justice, big announcement. We went live Friday night. We had a lot to talk about. But yeah, here's a chance to talk about a little bit more.
Yeah, we launched our website on Friday.
Heck yeah, we did.
If you haven't had a chance to check it out, I would encourage you to go to that announcement video on our YouTube page. I also tweeted it from our X account a little while ago. If just in case you're interested in learning more. Obviously, we've had some questions. The current version of the website, I would say, is really geared towards folks that play college fantasy football. I mean, if you're really, really into data, then perhaps there's something there for you as well. This is kind of version 1 of the website, and as we build it out, it'll just continue to grow. And eventually it'll have stuff for all college football fans, G5 college football fans, etc. But this is our version 1. We're providing things that don't exist anywhere else in terms of managing your college fantasy football teams. I won't get into a lot of details, but like I said in that announcement video, these are tools that I have built over the last 5 or 6 years that I have personally used, and now they're available for everybody. And like I said, they don't exist anywhere else. We'll have some testimonials from users that will be tweeted out this week. We tweeted out one, I think, this morning. We'll have more coming throughout the week. But yeah, man, it's pretty awesome. We have a special right now. If you use G5 Hive VIP promo code, you get half off your first year. Normal price is $99.99 a year. You will get it for $49.99 for your first year. In addition to the CFF tools, college fantasy football tools, all the various things we have in the data suite, subscribers also get instant access to our Worker Bee series. Those videos are typically a 2-week lag from the time we record till they're produced or published, I should say, for the public on YouTube. But our subscribers would get instant access to those as soon as they are available. But they're still going to be available to the public. It'll go out just like the normal schedule, like we've done the last 2 years. So that's just a perk for being a subscriber. And thanks for everyone that signed up, and thanks for the support. And if you want to learn more, go check out that announcement video. Got screenshots. We talk about it, et cetera, et cetera.
All right. Well, I think it's time for us to get into our G5 Hive Players of the Week. My offensive player of the week for week 8, JMU quarterback Alonzo Burnett III. Alonzo threw for 295 yards and 2 touchdowns while rushing for 153 yards and another 4 on the ground, leading the Dukes to a big Sun Belt victory. Congrats, Alonzo.
My defensive player of the week for week 8, UConn Huskies linebacker Brian Parham. Brian had 14 tackles, 9 solo, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks to lead the Huskies to a victory over P4 Boston College. Congratulations, Brian. My offensive player of the week for week 8 is UAB Blazers wide receiver Iverson Hooks. Iverson caught 11 balls for 172 yards and 3 touchdowns to lead the Blazers to a big victory over Memphis. Congratulations, Iverson.
My defensive player of the week for week 8, Texas State linebacker Traylon Payne. Traylon had 24 tackles, 7 of which solo, 1.5 tackles for loss to lead the Bobcats defense in week 8. Unfortunately, not quite enough this week, but congratulations nonetheless, Traylon. All right, for the G5 Hive freshman offensive player of the week for week 8, it's Eastern Michigan Eagles wide receiver Harold Mack Jr. Harold caught 6 balls for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns to lead the Eagles offense in week 8. Congratulations, Harold.
The G5 Hive Freshman Defensive Player of the Week for Week 8, Florida International Panthers safety Josiah McGrew. Josiah had 2 tackles, 1 solo, and 2 interceptions to lead the Panthers to a big Conference USA victory in Week 8. Congratulations, Josiah.
All right, Justice, like I said, we were just a little bit getting going, a little bit behind. We need to get things going. We need to buckle up and dive right into things. There's a lot of coaching news, a lot of news around the league. So what does the Swarm need to know? Our news and notes for week 8.
So coaching news, we'll start with that first. Jay Johnson is out as the offensive coordinator for the Wyoming Cowboys. Javon Boonite is now the offensive coordinator. Jay Johnson was demoted to offensive analyst. Apparently, he was given the option to either, resign and leave, or he could become an offensive analyst. He decided he'd stick around through the end of his contract, which is the end of this year, be an offensive analyst. Boonite is only in his second season at Wyoming. He was the wide receivers coach this season. Prior to that, he was an offensive and an analyst in 2024. Colorado State has fired head coach Jay Norvell. Tyson Summers will serve as the interim head coach. Summers was previously the defensive coordinator. Tight end coach Grant Chestnut will now be the offensive coordinator and the play caller. Norvell was 2-5 this season and was 18-26 in his 4 years there at Colorado State. Some positive coaching news. North Texas has approved a contract extension for head coach Eric Morris today. He was given an extension back in January. They're going to revisit that, and I'm assuming extend it even more. But the extension that was approved in January, it kept him through 2029. That deal paid him $950,000 per year with additional incentives that would push his total guaranteed compensation to just short of $1.5 million per year. And the buyout in that extension was 60% of his remaining base salary. So now it allows them to revisit that. They got approval from, I think, the Board of Regents today, and they'll just increase. I'm assuming they'll increase the money and increase the years for Coach Eric Morris and the Mean Green, as the Mean Green are having a pretty phenomenal season this year. All right, on to some injury news. You got Memphis head coach Ryan Silverfield. Brendan Lewis got injured in week 8. Coach Silverfield said he's day to day. He left the game week 8 early, and he was seen on crutches on the sidelines. AJ Hill replaced him during week 8, but today Silverfield said it could be Arrington Maiden or AJ Hill, or you might even see all 3 quarterbacks this week. This is a big week for Memphis, so we'll get to it here shortly. I mean, they had a big loss this past week, but they can make up a lot of ground this week as they take on South Florida Bulls. Jacksonville State quarterback Caden Creel injured his elbow and arm late in the game against Delaware. After the game, head coach Charles Kelly said the x-rays were negative and that it was a hyperextension. Good news for Jacksonville State. They're on a bye this week, so that gives Caden additional time to recover. Sam Houston quarterback Hunter Watson suffered what appeared to be a concussion in the game versus UTEP, and he did not play in the second half. I haven't seen anything official that said it was a concussion, but it looked like a concussion to me. Most people I talked to said they believed it was a concussion. So stay tuned on that for Hunter Watson. This feels like a weekly segment. Oregon State wide receiver Trenton Walker got banged up again this week. Sorry, Clint. But he keeps getting banged up. He keeps producing, keeps going out there. And as Clint said, the Beavers got a big win this week. Tulane safety Bailey Despaney, he got injured in the Week 8 game versus Army. Stay tuned for his status. Troy linebacker Stephen Catledge got called for targeting in the third quarter of the game this past week. And that means he will have to sit out the first half of this week's game. Wyoming tight end John Michael Gillenborg was expected to be fully back this past week. He was back, but he wasn't really back. He only played 8 snaps in the game against Air Force this week. Florida International tight end Dallas Payne fractured his hand in week 8. He had to have surgery, and they expect him to be out for a while. And sticking with Florida International, linebacker Dwight Nunu, who we talked about, I don't know, maybe last week before, he is still in concussion protocol. So stay tuned to his status. And that's going to do it for the news and notes this week. Let's jump right into our G5 in the AP Top 25. We got one representative this week, and that's South Florida. They move up from 19 to 18. Said they're the lone G5 representative in the AP Top 25. Memphis, as a result of their loss to UAB, dropped out. And the others receiving votes categories, we got Tulane coming in at number 28 with 37 votes. Navy coming at number 30 with 28 votes. San Diego State, number 31, 7 votes. JMU, number 32, 6 votes. And Boise State coming in at number 33 with 4 votes. Moving over to our G5 Top 25 poll. We tweeted this out earlier today. We also, these are our votes that we submit to the Hero Sports Consensus Media G5 Top 25 Media poll. I believe there's 20 or so voters. We're one of the voters in that poll, and these are our votes as we submitted. For those listening in audio format, I'll run down real quick, but we got South Florida at number 1, Tulane number 2, the Navy Midshipmen at number 3, the Dukes of JMU number 4, Boise State 5, North Texas Mean Green 6, San Diego State 7, Memphis 8, Connecticut Huskies 9, UNLV Rebels 10, Ohio Bobcats 11, East Carolina Pirates 12, Fresno State 13, Hawaii 14, Old Dominion 15, Troy 16, Utah State 17, Southern Miss 18, Temple 19, Jacksonville State 20, Kennesaw State 21, Western Michigan 22, the Thundering Herd from Marshall coming at number 23, Louisiana Tech at 24, and rounding out our top 25 was the Toledo Rockets. We caught a little bit of a flack today over UConn being in our top 10. I don't know. I don't. There is no one behind them that I feel confident like saying like, oh, they would definitely beat them. I don't know. UConn wins. I mean, maybe they haven't played the toughest schedule, but they've gotten wins. They've beaten P4 teams. I realize Boston College isn't a world beater, but they're a P4 team. And so I don't know. I feel like UConn is a top 10 team in the group of 5 schools. If you're comparing our poll to the consensus poll, not ranked in our poll, but ranked in the consensus poll, there was 2 teams, and one of them, frankly, just shocks me. And it shocks me they're as high as they are in the consensus poll, and that's Western Kentucky. So, like, we caught some flack over Western Kentucky, over UConn being in our top 10, but clearly folks are still ranking Western Kentucky pretty high because in the consensus poll, they're number 18. Like, for us,
just because when you look at the record says, okay, we're top, but like they're just not playing well. Like they're just tripping into wins sometimes, and when they're losing, they're falling a long ways in these losses. I mean that loss, we'll get into it, but the loss against FIU was not good at all.
It was bad. It was ugly.
So
but
the team's just not playing well.
I don't. I mean, like I said, Western Kentucky wasn't even someone we were even considering ranking this week, and the consensus poll has them at 18, which kind of blows my mind. The other one, wasn't a big difference between us. Actually, I think I had them in my top 25, but that was Miami was at number 25. I think for us, they ended up being number 26 after we combined mine and Luke's votes. So, I mean, I can see that one. Obviously, with having Western Kentucky not in our poll, there's one team ranked in our poll that's not in the consensus. And again, it kind of like blows my mind a little bit, and that's Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State got a big win against Delaware this week, which we'll get to. And I mean, they I think there's an argument to be made. They're the best team. They might be the best team in Conference USA. And so for them not to be ranked, kind of, I don't know, it seems weird to me as well. Some of the biggest differences between our votes and the consensus teams that we are lower on, and we've talked about this one before. Western Michigan, we have them at 22. The consensus has them at 16. It's a 6-spot difference. We've talked about, Western Michigan's win, but they haven't played like, teams that are very good. So are they good, or they're, I don't know. Like, I don't feel like they're a top level MAC team, but they are winning games. And then the other is Toledo. Again, Toledo was a team for us. Like, should we rank them? Should we not rank them? They came in at number 25. The consensus has them at number 20. So the 5-spot difference there. Teams that we are higher on than the consensus is Utah State. We have them at 17. The consensus has them at 24. 7-spot difference there. And then the other is Temple. We have them at 19. The consensus has them at 25, tied at 25 with Miami. 6-spot difference there. It was kind of crazy. Like, I want to say 1 through 14 or 15. Like, we weren't like more than 1 or 2 off from the consensus. So there seems to be a growing trend, I guess, in terms of the top 10 or so. And then when you get further down, it's kind of all over the place. And I know what I'm ranking. I don't speak for Luke, but like, it kind of feels like that. Like I don't know. Like, even between Luke and I, we have some big differences when you get to that, that second half of teams or second tier of teams, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. It's like Louisiana Tech, they might fall off, this next week. It's just that with Kobe Fields not on the field, that team's just a little bit different. Toledo is right there. I get it, they got a win, but they're just barely hanging on. And then you just got these teams that are like upside, like Jacksonville State. Temple's playing great football right now. Southern Miss playing well. Marshall playing well. Have they won 3 out of the last 4 or 4 out of the last 5? I mean, they're on a tear right now. Western Michigan, it's, is it the schedule? Are they a good team? I don't see anybody right now that's going to affect them here in the next couple weeks. So they're a team that I feel like is going to continue to climb. And Kennesaw State been playing some pretty good football. Troy turned it around. They had like a bad couple weeks, and then they kind of went. So this like 16 through 23, I feel like are all like upside. Like, they could continue to climb. I think Louisiana Tech, Toledo just holding on.
Yeah, absolutely. But stay tuned. We'll see what happens in week 9, and we'll be back next week to talk about our top 25 poll once again.
All right, I'm going to try to channel my inner Chris Berman and do that 2-minute drill type thing with some of these conferences. So we're going to talk about the Pac-12 and UConn week 8 in review. We had Washington State at number 18, Virginia. Washington State's up 20-10 heading into the fourth quarter, but they would be their own worst enemy as Virginia would march down the field 97 yards for a touchdown to bring the game within a field goal. Washington State would have 3 straight penalties to make it 2nd and 10 from the 25 to a 2nd and 27 from the 8. Xavier Eckhouse throws an INT. UVA scores a field goal to tie the game with 2:57 left. Washington State would have a blunder on the kickoff and be stopped at their own 2-yard line, and Virginia gets a safety on 3rd and 11 from the 1. Virginia pulls this one out 22-20 in a wild ending.
Yeah, I saw that ending. Like, the guy called for a fair catch. He wasn't the one that caught the ball. And so then they got penalized. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of, I don't know, like, it's like, what were you thinking in that moment, right? Like,
yeah,
like you weren't thinking, and then you ended up costing your team the game, man. Feel sorry for that guy.
That one, and then the other one, people have been calling for fair catch and letting the ball bounce. So when the ball bounces and you catch it and you've called for fair catch, you're dead there. Those are two ones I've kind of seen this year. But now, Clint, we won't make you wait very much longer. We got Lafayette at Oregon State. Woo! Big one. It's, I mean, it was kind of scary the first half, though. 13-10 Lafayette at the half, but all Beavers in the second half as they scored 35 unanswered points. Anthony Hankerson had a huge game, 25 rushing attempts for 204 yards and 4 touchdowns to get things going for the Beavers. Like I said, Beavers win in this one. All right. Then we've got UConn, week 8 in review. UConn at Boston College. Joe Fagano show. It's the Joe Fagano show as he throws for 362 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, runs 6 times for 25 yards and another touchdown. He was cooking with a 74% completion rate, 4 wideouts at 50+ yards. 20-17 BC at the half, but the Huskies have a big third quarter. Boston College would have 11 plays for 42 yards and 2 punts, while UConn would have 20 plays, 165 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the quarter. In the fourth quarter, it's 31-26 UConn, and about 5 minutes to go in the game. And you guessed it, Joe Fagano finds Skylar Bell for a 38-yard touchdown, and UConn goes on to win this game 38-23. And for the second straight week, Joe sets a UConn career high in passing yards. Juice Vereen not only scores his first touchdown as a Husky, but he also got a second on the day too. And it was UConn's first win on the road at a power conference school since 2012.
Yeah, the UConn looking good, man. Like, I don't know. Like, and the consensus poll, not to go back to the poll, but like folks have UNLV ranked above them. I don't know. I feel confident UConn would beat UNLV in a head-to-head matchup. But
whatever the over-under is, I would bet the over. Both offenses are great. Defensive struggle, but I think UConn's defense
a little bit better.
A little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for Pac-12 and UConn.
Yeah, and normally we'd be doing our previews, right, Justice? But this week is a little bit unique where Washington State plays Toledo, so we're going to cover them in the MAC preview, and UConn plays Rice, so we'll catch them here in the American preview. All right. Conference USA Week 8 in review. Tuesday game, New Mexico State at Liberty. Second quarter, you got Juju Gray. He's got that 96-yard kickoff return. They go up 10-3. New Mexico State goes 3-and-out. Liberty would also go 3-and-out, but New Mexico State would muff the punt. Liberty would recover and score a touchdown to go up 17-3. At the half, it is now 20-6 in favor of Liberty. In the third quarter, there's 2 possessions by each team. Liberty with a fumble and a 3-and-out, while New Mexico State scores 2 touchdowns. After 3, we're tied at 20. Liberty with 17 yards in the third compared to New Mexico State's 96. Now, moving into quarter number 4, Vasca throws his second interception of the game, and New Mexico State turns that drive into a touchdown. New Mexico State on top 27-20. Liberty within a mass 6 yards and have to punt it back to New Mexico State, but they muffed another punt. Liberty recovers. Liberty gets a field goal to cut the lead to 4, 27-23 in favor of New Mexico State. New Mexico State's going to punt and pin Liberty at their own 8. Liberty would march down the field and score a touchdown to go up 30-27. New Mexico State would get a chance to attempt a 47-yard field goal to send it to overtime, but Hawk misses the attempt. Liberty wins 30-27. New Mexico State just let this game slip away.
Yeah, man. Like I got to catch this game, and it felt like New Mexico State was a better team. But Liberty at home was able to pull it out. I mean, Liberty is a different team with Ethan Vasco. Like he makes them, I don't know, an average to okay team. But New Mexico State, man, like they felt like the better team. They just couldn't get it done. Too many mistakes against Liberty at home.
All right. Now we've got FIU at Western Kentucky. This one's 19-6 at the half in favor of FIU. Stories of the game. FIU dominated on the ground, 249 yards to 116. Then turnovers were a story as Maverick MacGyver threw 3 interceptions, one at the FIU 6, one at the Western Kentucky 21, and another at the FIU 18. This one, FIU wins 25-6.
And Western Kentucky looks like a different team. Like you saw them the first 2 weeks of the year, they look lights out, right? Like, and then since then, it's been like you said earlier, they've kind of it feels like they've lucked into wins. Like they weren't necessarily the better team. I mean, I know I caught the game against Delaware a few weeks ago, and Delaware was the better team. Delaware just kind of shot themselves in the foot, and Western Kentucky kind of got the win. I'm kind of shocked. Like the Western Kentucky offense is like looking as bad as it is. You would have thought like, Rick Bowie, Maverick McIver, they've worked together last year, and that some of that would have translated. But man, it's not translating at all. Not even to Conference USA. And so, I don't. It'll be interesting to kind of see what happens in the offseason there with the Hilltoppers if they make some changes with the offensive coordinator or such.
Yeah, this is a team that's not matching their record right now.
Yeah, no.
All right, let's get into Delaware at Jacksonville State. Delaware, with 2 first-half fumbles, helped Jacksonville State jump out to a 14-0 lead, and they would lead 21-6 at the half. Jacksonville State would add 2 more touchdowns in the third to increase their lead, now up 35-12 after 3. Delaware would tack on 13 in the fourth to make the score look closer than it really was. Delaware and Jacksonville State were not very good in this game on third down. However, Delaware was also not very good on fourth down when they had to go for it. They turned the ball over on down 4 times in this one. Delaware would run the ball a total of 12 times in the first half, and they would have 22 attempts on the game with a 1.5 yards per attempt. Delaware's been pretty good at running the ball and just unable to do it in this one. Jacksonville State wins this one 38-25.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean that was kind of the tail of the tape. I feel like Delaware couldn't run, and then on the other side of defense, they couldn't really stop Cam Cook, or Caden Creel. At least up until he got injured. But I mean, to beat Jacksonville State, you're gonna have to force them to pass the ball, and Delaware was not able to do that.
All right, moving on to UTEP at Sam Houston. Skylar Locklear with a start, and he would go 21 of 26 for 236 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception in the game. Sam Houston played 3 quarterbacks. Hunter Watson got hurt in the second quarter with a sack with 2 minutes left to go. Like Justice said, kind of sounds like a concussion. Well, when things got out of hand, they turned it over to freshman Landon Lockey. Sam Houston had their opportunity early in the fourth. UTEP's up 21-17. They miss a field goal. Sam Houston goes 3 and out, but UTEP muffs the punt. Sam Houston takes over at the UTEP 7, but they can't punch it in. And then the easy field goal, it's blocked. UTEP proceeds to march down the field, and Sam Houston has a turnover on down, and UTEP responds on the very next play with a 34-yard touchdown run by freshman Ashton Emery. Things got a hand quick in the fourth quarter as UTEP wins this one 35-17. Relatively close going into that fourth quarter. And then, anything that can go wrong will go wrong in a bad season for Sam Houston.
If Hunter Watson was able to play the whole game, I think Sam Houston might have got their first win of the year. But with no Hunter Watson, they just on offense they couldn't get anything going. Maybe Murtower was the first one in there, and he looked terrible, man. He looked really, really bad. And then just like you said, Landon Locke came in, and he's a freshman, so he kind of looked like a freshman. But unfortunately for the Bearcats, I think Hunter Watson's injury was kind of what cost them the game, or at least cost them a really good shot at winning the game. I think they might have won had Watson been able to play the whole game.
All right. Well, let's look at our Week 9 preview games. We've got Tuesday games, Kennesaw State at FIU, 7 p.m. Eastern, over-under set at 49.5. Kennesaw State favored on the road by 3.5. That 3.5 has me a little scared. FIU's just been playing very well lately, and it seems like, okay, I overlook them this week and they blow somebody out, and I overlook them and they blow somebody out. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna believe in them, and then they get blown out. I'm like,
they're kind of inconsistent.
FIU.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about FIU. They're just not. They haven't been super consistent. They've been better than they have in years past, but the consistency is not there. Like you said, they lose a game you think they're going to win, and get blown out, and then they win a game, and by blowout fashion that game, you think they're going to lose. So it's just, you kind of see that inconsistency. Kennesaw State's been playing well, man. Been playing really well. So I don't know. I kind of like the Owls in this one. They just seem to be the more consistent team at this point. I guess the question, who do we see at quarterback for Kennesaw State? Is Odom's healthy? Are we going to see Dexter Williams again?
Well, did you see the quote earlier today? Coach said if Odom is healthy, he will get the first crack at things.
Interesting. I mean, I did think when he was healthy, he looked like the better quarterback. So be interesting to see. You get an availability report, I guess, tomorrow. So we should maybe know a little bit more then, or might not hear anything official until warm-ups. But I think I like the Owls in this game over the Panthers. Just they seem to be playing more consistent.
All right, and then we've got our next game also on Tuesday, Western Kentucky at Louisiana Tech, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Louisiana Tech favored by 3.5, over/under set at 50.5. I think this is another game that Western Kentucky lucks into because Louisiana Tech's defense just hasn't been as good since Colby Fields has went out. But I also can see Western Kentucky struggling to move the ball in this game and giving Louisiana Tech some good field position. So this is like, I just feel like I don't really know what to happen because if things are clicking for Western Kentucky, things will go well. Louisiana Tech, they're just both on downhill trajectories, but like Louisiana Tech is slightly faster than Western Kentucky's, but not. It just kind of depends.
It seems like a pick'em game to me. Like,
yeah,
I get Louisiana Tech being favored; they're the home team, but it really kind of feels like more like a pick'em. Two teams. I mean, with Louisiana Tech, like you said, with the Fields injury, it's kind of hard to say what you're going to get from them. And Western Kentucky, like we said, just hasn't played really well the last several weeks. So I don't know. I'm not going to be shocked at whichever team wins the game. Whichever team loses those, he's going to have a hard road to make it to the Conference USA Championship. The winner, increases their odds there. Both teams have one loss in conference play. And they'll have the tiebreaker over the team they beat. I think, like, if I have to pick someone, I think I pick Louisiana Tech, man, but I don't like the 3.5. I think I'd like it better if it was like 2.5.
2.5.
It feels like they're going to win by like a field goal or something. It's kind of what it feels like to me.
All right. Wednesday games. We've got Middle Tennessee at Delaware, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Delaware favored by 8.5, over/under set at 55.5. Delaware been playing some pretty good football despite the 3-3 record, 1-2 in Conference USA. Middle Tennessee honestly has been playing also kind of like pretty good football, and they're 1-5.
Playing better.
Yeah. 1-5, 0-2 in Conference USA. So like when you look at the records, it's not like something to get excited about, but this could be some good football. And if Nicholas Vadiato is on tomorrow night, or I guess Wednesday night, I think he could give Delaware's defense some problems. But I like Delaware in this one. I'm going to lay them with Delaware there in the 8.5.
Yeah, Delaware's wearing, if you haven't seen, they're wearing their black and white uniforms. They rarely wear those. So everything's black and white. The helmet, the jersey, pants, and they're 6-0 in those uniforms. And so I think after Wednesday, it's going to be 7-0. I think Delaware rolls over the Blue Raiders. And, the seat continues to get warmer for Derek Mason. I don't know. I mean, it feels like I'm surprised. I'd be surprised if he makes it through the season without getting fired. I certainly expect it to happen no later than the end of the year, but I feel like it's going to happen before the season ends, but we'll see.
All right. And then the last game for CUSA, Wednesday night, Missouri State at New Mexico State, 9 p.m. Eastern. Missouri State favored on the road by 1.5, over/under set at 50 2.5. Missouri State been playing some pretty good football. New Mexico State also been playing good football. They've just, haven't been able to really finish things. I definitely like the way Logan Fife has been playing in general this season. I guess the question is who's going to start at quarterback for Missouri State?
For Missouri State. Yeah, I think that's huge in this game. To me, the way the spread is, it makes me believe that Jacob Clark's going to start, because I think if Deuce Bailey was starter, it'd be a bigger spread.
Yeah, and I thought that Jacob was going to be back last week, but he did not. So it makes me think he was close. Just didn't get over the last hump there, and I think we see him this week. But I think this one is another pick'em game. Even though Missouri State favored on the road by 1.5 is a little puzzling to me, because I think New Mexico State's been playing better than that allows. So I guess if I had to find some value, I would go New Mexico State and the points.
I like New Mexico State laying the 1.5 points at home. Again, especially if we find out Deuce Bailey's playing, I think New Mexico State wins by more. But I just feel like New Mexico State's the more complete team at this juncture over Missouri State. But hey, if Jacob Clark's playing and he's healthy, you can't count out the Bears.
All right. Let's move on over to our American Conference Week 8 in review and start with Thursday night. Tulsa at East Carolina. With their first possession in the third and down 24-14, Tulsa had the ball at the ECU 44 on 4th and 2. They go for it, but Dominic Richardson got stuffed. The very next play was a 51-yard touchdown run by Landon Montgomery. Roles would be reversed towards the end of the third, beginning of the fourth, as Tulsa's touchdown cuts the lead to 7, 31-24 with 14:47 to go. ECU would tack on a field goal to go up 10, and the next Tulsa possession, we would see them turn the ball over on downs at midfield, and ECU would turn that into 7 points and go up 17 with 5:22 left. Tulsa would proceed to go on an 11-play, 63-yard drive that would eat up 3 minutes and 33 seconds. They would only get a field goal, which cut the lead to 14, with time and the score working against them. Not ideal. 1:49 left to go. They're down 14. ECU ends up winning this one 41-27.
Did you see the at the end of the game when Tulsa did the onside kick? And so the kicker did an onside kick, and I guess the plan was for him to kick it and for the kicker to go get the ball, right? He kicked it so that he would be the one to recover it, and he got lit up like a Christmas tree, buddy. I was at a bar watching the game, and people were like, "Where's the flag? Where's the flag?" And I'm like, "That's not." In that situation, he's a football player, man. And it wasn't he wasn't targeting. I mean, it was a legit hit, but he got rocked. Then the funny thing was the refs talked about it for a long time, and then finally nothing ever happened. There was no penalties, there was no flag. It wasn't targeting. He just got. I mean, it's like he thought he was protected because he was the kicker, and he that no one would hit him as he was trying to go recover the onside kick. Man, it was a brutal hit. I'm sure it's probably on X or YouTube if you look it up, man. But I don't know. It was it was definitely the hit of the week. Might be the hit of the year. It was pretty vicious hit.
Well, what ECU. What I want to figure out is, you said you were at a bar watching this, and people are saying, "Where's the flag? What bar are you at that they're watching Tulsa ECU? They've got the volume on, and people are engaged in the game." That's the bar I want to know.
And I wasn't even I wasn't near either of those schools. I was up in Pennsylvania. But I mean, I think it was because of how vicious the hit was, right? People took notice of it. But anyway, I think last week when I was doing the preview of this game, I talked about ECU plays well against the teams that they should clearly beat, and that it's kind of that's kind of what happened here. At least their offense. I think the ECU defense has played well all year. The offense seems to only get going against inferior teams, and then kind of not so hot against the better teams. And and they kind of held true to that statement again this week with Anthony Smith and Caton Hauser hooking up a couple times, having both of those guys having big games against Tulsa.
Let's move on over to Army at Tulane. This one was a close one throughout. Just a momentum changing type game of Pong. Army goes 4 of 4 on fourth down. Certainly helps them stay in this game. First quarter. So there's 15 minutes in a quarter. We're all aware of this, right? Army held the ball on the opening drive for 11 minutes, 44 seconds. However, it ended in a missed 44-yard field goal. Now I'm going to head over to the fourth quarter at the point of the game where you just feel like Tulane had some momentum with the game tied at 10. Tulane had some big plays and was down to the Army 24-yard line, but Jake Retzlaff throws an interception. Army would control the ball for 8 minutes and 16 seconds and score a touchdown. They're just like a snake, just sucking the life out of you when they're running the ball. Tulane's able to answer, however, with a touchdown of their own. Army has the ball with under 2 minutes to go. They go 3 and out. Tulane responds with a 6-play, 75-yard drive that ends with a juggling Shaz Preston touchdown from 26 yards out. If you didn't get to see it, I think it hit his hands, maybe the defender's hands, or the defender's him. He pops it up. It was the weirdest looking play, and he was surprised that he even caught it. But that touchdown ends up to be the game winner. Tulane holds on to win 24-17. UTSA at North Texas. Close game at the half, 24-14 in favor of North Texas with momentum in their favor. They get the ball to start the third, march down the field for a touchdown to go up 31-14. UTSA's first play after that is a sack fumble. North Texas returns that great field position into 7 points, 38-14. UTSA would have 4 possessions in the third quarter, 1 field goal, 3 fumbles. North Texas cruises as they win this one 55-17. Huge game from Drew Mestemaker, 277 yards passing and 4 touchdowns while adding 7 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And then Miles Coleman out. Wyatt Young stepped up and had a big game, 6 receptions for 102 yards and 3 touchdowns. Temple at Charlotte. Temple would dominate the second and third quarters as they outscored Charlotte 42-0 during that time. Charlotte would have 3 turnovers in that stretch, and Temple would have a fumble, an INT, return for a touchdown. Seemed like Charlotte was facing third or fourth down, while Temple was rarely in third down in this game. And however, when Temple was in third down, they didn't do very well. It was those turnovers and that huge stretch there in that second and third quarters. Like I said, they scored 42 points in the second and third quarters. They win this game 49-14. Number 22, Memphis at UAB. UAB, fresh off firing their coach. They're down. They haven't been playing great football. Surprise of the day has to be this game. Kitna did not play, and one would think UAB has no chance at this point. Ryder Burton would get the start. I believe he is a true sophomore, I believe. But let's just jump into the most critical possession of the game in the fourth quarter. Memphis trails by 7 in the fourth with 1:45 left to go. AJ Hill is in for an injured Brendan Lewis, who got hurt early in the third quarter. It's first and goal at the UAB 6. It's a 5-yard pass to Greg DeRosier, makes it second and goal, 26 seconds left. False start, second and goal from the 6. 2 incompletions makes it fourth and goal from the 6. Then a delay of game. Now it's fourth and goal from the 11 and another incompletion. UAB kneels and takes this one. As Justice mentioned in his Offensive Player of the Week, Iverson Hook, 11 catches, 172 yards, and 3 touchdowns in a huge win for UAB as they win this game 31-24.
Yeah, crazy, man. Like you never saw this coming, right? And especially like you said, if you had known like Jalen Kitna wasn't going to be the starter, it was going to be Ryder Burton, like and someone told you that UAB is going to beat Memphis, you'd have been like, "What are you smoking?"
I would have continued to, live bet this and just, keep going. It's like at some point Memphis is going to get it, and they just didn't.
Right?
I'm trying to remember it's some sort of rack of ribs is the trophy in this one.
Yes, it's a ribs trophy. So the rack of ribs stays in Birmingham. So yeah, shout out to the Blazers, man. Like they had a crappy year all year, but they got a huge win on Saturday. It'd be interesting to kind of see if they're able to propel that momentum, if they're able to sustain the momentum and get a couple more wins as the season closes out.
And usually, like, having a defense let up 24 points isn't like great, but that's like phenomenal.
It's phenomenal for UAB. Well, I mean, they're giving up like 40 to D2 schools and then FCS schools. So yeah, that was a phenomenal job by UAB for sure.
All right, Florida Atlantic at number 19, USF. First half story was Southern Florida scored touchdowns, FAU scored field goals. 21-6, South Florida at the half. First possession of the third, FAU scored a touchdown to bring the score 21-13. Then South Florida would score 27 unanswered points. FAU would have 2 turnovers in that span. USF goes on to cruise in this one 48-13.
Yeah, the Bulls just look hands down like the best. It's been pretty much all year, I feel like, but they've looked like the best G5 team. Offensively, defensively. The biggest thing, man, like to me, like you're gonna have to slow down Byron Brown, right? Like you can't slow down his running. It's going to be a long day for you.
Yeah, you got to make it. You got to make him
pass. Yeah,
I mean, he underthrew
You're
so many balls.
Done, but that's what you got to do.
Yeah, he underthrew so many balls, and the offense, wide receivers were able to make adjustments, come back to the ball. Like, yeah, you got to make him throw. All right, week 9 previews. Friday games, we've got North Texas at Charlotte, 7 p.m. Eastern. North Texas, heavy favorites in this one. Favored on the road by 27.5 points. Over-under set at 62.5. I feel like North Texas needs to put up points to kind of tell their story. I'm trying to remember if they play South Florida during the season or not, but they.
I don't think they do. North Texas already played South Florida. They lost.
They lost. That's right. They just played last week.
Yeah. But they don't play Memphis. They don't play Tulane. The rest of their schedule after Charlotte, they got Navy, UAB, Rice, and Temple.
So I think this one, 27.5, I'm going to lay the points with Charlotte. I just feel like it's a large number on the road. Maybe you rest up some guys. North Texas should cruise in this one. I just don't know if they're going to run up the score.
I mean, I can see them trying to, right? If they, obviously the loss to South Florida hurts, but if that's their only loss, and let's say South Florida loses to Memphis this week, they could, try and make their case for that college football playoff spot by running up the score against a bad Charlotte team. And that's kind of what they'd have to do, I think, to kind of have to, for that to happen. Get South Florida to lose to Memphis. They get South Florida maybe again in the American Championship, and then beat them in that. I can see them trying to get a rest, but so they rest Mestemaker. They put Poffenbarger in there. He's still a good quarterback, right? We've seen that Wyatt Young, Cameron Dorner, other they have a plethora of running backs. So from an offensive standpoint, I think even if they're getting guys some rest, their second string offensive, at least the skill guys anyway, they're pretty good too. So I don't know. I would take North Texas in the 27.5 points personally.
All right. South Saturday games. We've got South Florida, number 18 in the nation, against Memphis at Memphis. South Florida favored by 4.5. Over/under set at 63.5. I think this is a game to watch the line. Obviously, I like South Florida in this game. Just playing overall really good. Offense, defense, Memphis. Who's going to start at quarterback? Who's going to play? I think that's where you're watching lines. If this one tilts heavy, USF, I don't think Lewis will be playing. If this one starts to maybe go to like a 2.5 or a 3.5, I think Lewis is in.
I'm kind of disappointed that Brendan Lewis got hurt last week. I would like to see these two teams play at full strength. And then the loss last week against UAB, like I think there was a pretty good shot that if both of these teams come in, undefeated in conference play, we might have gotten ESPN Game Day at this game. I know they're in Vanderbilt, but I think this game might have gotten some pretty serious consideration had Memphis not lost last week.
Yeah, because then it would probably been like number 18 versus 21 or something like that.
Right,
It would have been a good one.
So I'm kind of bummed by that, and I don't know. I mean, I think at full strength, I still think South Florida is the better team. I think I have to go with the Bulls in this one, especially with the health of Brendan Lewis being a big question mark. If they had any shot, they would need him at full strength. So give me the Bulls.
All right. Now we've got our independent UConn Huskies against Rice at Rice. UConn favored by 9.5. Over/under set at 48.5. I think you gotta lay the points. I think with UConn.
Yeah, I mean 48.5 seems a lot for a Rice game, right?
Yeah,
but I think I agree with you. I think give me UConn and the minus 9.5 points. It'd be interesting to see what's going to happen to quarterback for Rice, right? If it's not Chase Jenkins, that this offense looks very different, and it just really doesn't work because they don't really have another, a true dual threat guy. I would assume if Jenkins is not going to play, Drew DeVilliers will be the starter. And while he might be a better passer in an option offense, you really need to have a mobile quarterback. And so, like, pay attention to that too. Like, look at the availability report, see what we think about Chase Jenkins. But I think regardless, the Huskies will win. But if Chase Jenkins is playing, I think Rice might give him a little bit more of a fight.
All right. Next game, we've got Temple at Tulsa, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Temple favored by 6.5. 53.5 over/under.
I think it's going to be a good game.
Temple's just been playing really good. Tulsa's been playing fast. They've also, they haven't been playing spectacular, but they've been playing entertaining football, I guess, if you want to say that. I think I would lay the points with Temple in this one. I think I would get the 6.5 before it gets to 7.5 or something like that. Temple's just been playing really good football.
Temple has been playing really well. I mean, I think Tulsa hasn't been terrible. It's at home. I don't know. I think for me, like I probably wouldn't bet anything on this game, but I do feel like, I mean, from a pure entertainment standpoint, I think it'd be a good game, good competitive game. I think Tulsa, will have a chance to win it, but the Temple defense will probably shut them down at the end.
Tulsa have been they have a pretty good defense. Dominic Richardson been playing well, but they shut down Robert Henry for UTSA a few weeks ago. I think they can shut down Richardson this week. All right, our last game for the American, we've got FAU at Navy, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Navy favored by 15.5. Over/under set at 62.5. I think, as odd as it sounds, I might take the over. But I'm a little bit nervous. FAU hasn't been scoring many points. They've just been getting a lot of yards. So I don't know.
Yeah, that scares me. Like I think I'd take the under. I think because yeah, FAU's like they seem to move the ball, but they can't like you said like
Yeah.
they can't get touchdowns and Navy's gonna ball control and I don't see the FAU defense stopping Heidenreich and Blake Horvath and Alex Texa. I would expect Navy to kind of to win pretty big in this game personally. Again, Navy's another team, right? If they want to get in they're undefeated, 4-0 in the American. If they want to get in the conversation of being the G5 rep, these are games where they're gonna have to blow out the opponent. They have some big games coming up though. After FAU, they have a really tough stretch. Navy does. So maybe to your point, Luke, maybe they get up and then they kind of rest some guys because after the FAU game, they have North Texas, then Notre Dame, then South Florida, and then Memphis before the Army Navy game. So it's kind of it's a murderer's row, if you will, for Navy after this FAU game. So I could see them maybe resting their stars once if they get a big lead in preparation for those that 4 or 5 week stretch of pretty big games. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Navy does. Obviously, they can't afford a Blake Horvath or Heidenreich to get hurt, right? Not if they want to win the games coming up. So be interested to see what happens.
All right, let's move on to the Sun Belt Conference Week 8 in review. We had Tuesday night game, Arkansas State at South Florida, and we had ourselves a good old-fashioned rock fight. Both teams got to third down so many times and had to punt 19 punts in this one. Just a rock fight of any rock fight. But we're going to move over to the fourth quarter where it got interesting. It's 14-3. And Arkansas State has it's 14-3 South Alabama. Arkansas State has the ball. They get a field goal to cut the lead 14-16. Next South Alabama possession would end in a sack fumble, but they would recover it, punt to Arkansas State. Then it became the Jalen Rayner show. They had 42-yard run on first down by Rayner, followed by a 6-yard touchdown pass from Rayner to Hunter Summers, but they would fail the 2-point conversion. So Arkansas State trails 12-14. South Alabama would lean on their running game, and they had a 15-play drive that featured 13 runs, 1 incomplete pass, and it was capped off by a missed 29-yard field goal. What would Arkansas State do with the ball? Down 2, starting at their own 20. It seemed like every play was 8 or 9 yards for the Red Wolves. The next thing you knew, Arkansas State was at the South Alabama 34. Arkansas State runs the ball and forces South Alabama to use their timeouts. And then we have the kicker kicks the 38-yard game-winning field goal as time expires. Arkansas State wins 15-14.
That last drive of the game, it felt like Coach Jones was kind of mismanaging it, right? Like, kind of felt like what are you doing, man? Like, you need to get down there and score. And they were just kind of like, for lack of a better word, kind of taking their time, right? I mean, it worked out at the end of the day, but man, like, it just really seemed like there wasn't I don't know, maybe they were just calm, cool, and collected. But it didn't really seem like there was a big sense of urgency in that last drive from Arkansas State. Maybe it went exactly like they planned. I don't know, but from my perspective, I was like, I was getting a little bit nervous. I'm like, man, like you're gonna freaking run out of clock because you mismanaged it so bad. But at the end of the day, they ended up winning the game. So,
all right, let's move over to our Saturday games. Troy at UL Monroe. This one was close up to midway into the third. It was 17-14 in favor of Troy. Troy kicks a field goal. Then ULM's next possession, a sack fumble that Troy scores on an 11-yard Trey Taylor touchdown run. 27-14 in favor of Troy. ULM's next 5 possessions: interception, fumble, interception that gets returned for a touchdown, turnover on downs, and a punt. ULM has 140 yards in the second half, 6 points compared to only 80 yards, but 20 points from Troy, as Troy was set up in good field position all second half. And Troy wins this one 37-14.
Yeah, I mean Troy's a team like we talked about when in the rankings. They have really kind of turned things around. They lost Goose Crowder and losing him just like last year. The first couple of games they looked lost, didn't look good at all, and then all of a sudden I don't know, like things seem to be clicking for Tucker Kilcrease. He's playing a whole lot better for the Trojans, and they're right in the mix in the Sun Belt West. And they're right there with Southern Miss, gonna make for a good matchup when those two teams hook up and have to play each other.
All right, Justice. Now we got to keep it short. It was my player of the week because I couldn't feel like it could be your player of the week, even though maybe I should have made you had this guy as your player of the week. But Old Dominion, James Madison, huge game. James Madison wins this one big, 63-27. What do you got to say, Justice?
Well, Blooming Onion, I'm sorry. I cannot absolutely 100%. I can't do that. I cannot join the dark side and become a JMU fan. I am an Old Dominion alum. My hatred for JMU goes back to the Kent Coluco days. For those that don't know, that was basketball before ODU had a football team, and Kent Coluco drained a three-pointer to beat us. And that might have been like the first time we were in the Sun Belt. I don't remember, but they beat us in the conference tournament. And like from there, my hatred for JMU has always grown. But kudos to JMU. They've owned us since they've moved up, and not just in football, women's basketball, men's basketball, etc. Really, the only thing I feel like you could talk about is when ODU first started football, we owned JMU when we were both in the FCS, but that's many, many years ago. On to the game. So the first half, super, super exciting. It was it looked like, hey, whoever has the ball last is going to win this game. Neither defense stopped either offense. Colton Joseph had a great game. Trey Brown was having a great game. Obviously, Alonzo Barnett III was having a great game. It looked like the game was going to live up to the billing, that this was going to be maybe the best game of the Sun Belt of the year. And then the second half happened, and it was ugly, man. So I was up in Pennsylvania this weekend, and I attended a Division III game on Saturday that started at, I think, 1:00. And I have a buddy. He's an equipment manager for a D3 school, and his school had 7 yards of total offense in the first half. And I was like, man, that was some of the ugliest football I've ever seen. Well, ODU in the second half of this game said, "Hold my beer," because up until the last drive of the game in the second half, they had -1 yards of total offense. They got 9 yards on that last drive in garbage time. I still couldn't get a first down, but they got 9 yards, and they ended up with 8 yards of total offense. The second half was just ugly. They couldn't get anything going. Turnovers. Colton Joseph threw 2 interceptions. They had another punt fumble. This time it was the backup quarterback, Quinn Enicle, back there returning punts, which just seemed a very odd choice to me, because I doubt he's ever returned punts in his life. I don't know. I feel like high school teams don't typically put their quarterback back there to return punts. Maybe he did. I don't know. Yeah, man, it was ugly. It was a beatdown. The defense of Old Dominion never stopped the JMU offense at all. Alonzo Barnett III, like, to me, this was the first game he looked like what you might expect, right? How he looked before the injury. Up to this point, I thought maybe he was still recovering, because I didn't think he looked great. But man, they looked great this game. We've been talking about how JMU's kind of turned it on in the second half of the previous games, and like they played well in the first half, at least offensively, not so well defensively. But man, they turned it on in the second half. Like I said, I think ODU had 270 some yards in the first half, and only have like 8 in the second half. Pretty amazing adjustments by the staff. Kudos to JMU on the win. Man, like I don't know, I'm still pretty dejected by the game. I went to the Ricky Ronnie press conference today to record it, and like I didn't even feel like asking questions because I was just like, I don't know. I'm still pretty dejected. So, but congrats to JMU.
It's not really a review or anything, but I do have a question. You had mentioned, this is the best team that Ricky Ronnie has had. If we don't win it this year, like, do you think he's on the hot seat?
Well, I would like to think so. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he only has 1 year under contract after this year. And so, like, I feel like at the end of this year, like, you have to do something, right? You can't leave him hanging for a year because it's going to screw up the recruiting, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Maybe he wins out, and they they have 9 wins, and he saves his job. But I can tell you, like, ODU fans do not like losing to JMU, and that's what we've done the last several years in all 3 major sports. I think Ricky Ryan's a good guy. I think he seems to get a lot out of less talented teams. But this year, like, and I realize we just lost to JMU and got our butts kicked. But from my perspective, from a pure talent perspective, I think ODU is the most talented team in the Sun Belt. And so, but they haven't played like that. Like, they just, they just killed themselves with turnovers. 2 weeks ago at Marshall. This week they just, I don't know, just the coaching staff has not been able to, I feel like, maximize the ability of this team the last 2 weeks. I don't know the reasons why or whatever. Carrie, yes, you're absolutely correct. They did. And and the amazing thing was, like I said, ODU had 270 yards at halftime. So you would have thought ODU would have broke the streak, right? That they would have gotten at least 31 yards to give them 301. But man, like, yeah, it was the second half was just brutal. But yeah, many ODU fans want Ricky Ronnie gone. I think more fans are clamoring for the athletic director Wood Selig to be gone, necessarily than Ricky Ronnie. I don't know. We'll see. A big game this week. We'll get to it in a minute.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on to a fun one in this one. Coastal Carolina at App State. Coastal's down 34-31 going into the fourth quarter. A long App State drive leads to a field goal to increase their lead to 6. Coastal responds with almost an identical long drive, but theirs ends with a touchdown. They're up 38-37. App State goes for it on 4th and 7 on their own 22. J.J. Cole completes a path, but is short of the first down marker. We've got a turnover on downs. Coastal wastes no time. They score a touchdown in 20 seconds, go up 45-37 with 1:56 left in the game. App State's marching down the field, but time is running out with 37 seconds left from Coastal's 47. It's 3rd and 25. J.J. Cole gets sacked, fumbles the ball. Coastal recovers. Coastal wins on the road 45-37. I will say in this one, App State's offense is clicking more. J.J. Cole's been playing really good football. He's not turning over in the red zone. He's got like 7 touchdowns in his 3 starts. That's pretty good. But tackling did not look good for App State, especially in the first half. Like, Coastal had a bubble screen that App State missed like 3 tackles and they scored a touchdown. Defense did not look very crisp on Saturday for App State.
Yeah, this one surprised me a little bit. Like, I don't know. I've been of the opinion that Coastal Carolina is not a very good team, but I guess they played better the last couple of weeks since the ODU loss. But I thought App State's been playing well offensively all year. It's kind of been the defense. I feel like that's kind of let them down. Other
I'm
than
trying to
the
remember.
games when AJ Swan was turning the ball over. But
I'm
this
trying to
game
remember
did
the.
surprise me.
I'm trying to remember the three quarterbacks, in that they have because MJ Morris. The guy that they had
Tad
starting.
Hudson they had
So
MJ Morris, Tad Hudson, and then
so Tad
Samari
Hudson.
Collier.
So Samari Collier got the start. Then he got hit. MJ Morris had to come in for a little bit. He actually looked pretty good, but he just ran the ball. Collier came back in. Tad Hudson didn't even travel with the team. But Collier looked pretty good when he was in there.
Yeah. Yeah, surprising. And then you saw the flag plant, right? I don't know if you saw that, Luke, but
I did
Coastal
not.
Coastal Carolina tried to do they're playing at App State. They did a flag plant on the Mountaineers field, and then there was a big brawl after the game. So
Oh.
I don't know. Stay tuned. There could be some repercussions from that brawl, in terms of maybe like half game suspensions or some kind of punishment. Yeah. So stay tuned. Be interesting to see.
All right, then we get into another fun one here in the Sun Belt. Texas State at Marshall. Marshall's defense forced Texas State into a lot of third downs, forced 3 turnovers, 2 fumbles, 1 INT. Marshall turned all of those turnovers into points, 13 to be exact. This one would go into 2 overtimes. Both teams would score touchdowns in the first overtime, and Texas State would get the ball first in the second overtime. Field goal for them. Marshall gets a touchdown on a 1-yard Joshawn Barbie touchdown run. Marshall's won 2 in a row and 4 of their last 5, and they're putting up points in the loss. Brad Jackson, 444 yards and 2 touchdowns with 48 on the ground and a touchdown to add it on the ground. But Marshall, like I said, wins in 2 overtimes, 40-37. Defense isn't quite there. I thought the defense actually might be one of the better parts of Marshall's of their team, with offense lacking, but it's been the offense lately, and Marshall
Absolutely.
looking like they're kind of finding their rhythm right now.
Yeah. And then Texas State, like we talked about last week, as GJ Kinney kind of lost his luster. He always seems to kind of be the one of the first names mentioned from a G5 perspective that might get a P4 job. And I talked about last week, like I just don't see it, man, because like his teams always seem to underachieve at the last few years at Sunbelt. And what's this? I think this is 3 in a row they've lost, right?
I think so.
Not good for a team that was, I think probably the favorite to win the Sun Belt West. Like that looks like a pipe dream at this point.
All right, now let's move over to Southern Miss at Louisiana. Missed opportunities for Louisiana in the first half for this one. They're up 7-0 on Southern Miss. Southern Miss misses a field goal. Louisiana then throws an interception that then Southern Miss ties the game at 7. Southern Miss throws an interception. Louisiana has the ball at the Southern Miss 18, and they just can't move the ball at all. They miss a 36-yard field goal. Southern Miss turns that into 7 points of their own. Walker Howard takes over for Lunch Winfield after he throws an interception. Southern Miss hits a 52-yard field goal before the half to go up 13-7. Lunch returns for the second half, and Louisiana has 5 drives: field goal, punt, fumble, turnover on downs, and a safety. Southern Miss highlight of the second half with a 98-yard touchdown toss from Braxton to Micah Davis to put the Golden Eagles up 20-10. Southern Miss goes on to win this one 22-10.
Yeah, I mean,
oh,
I was gonna say the Southern Miss kind of, I don't know, like they look to be probably the best team in the West right now. Probably them or Troy. And that'd be
yep.
just think about the turnaround, right? Like a year ago at this time, they had just fired their head coach Will Harris, and now they are competing
1 win.
for now they're competing for the Sun Belt West title. Like that's that's a pretty remarkable turnaround in a year. Obviously, it helps when you hire the conference championship head coach. He brings over, I don't know, 30 or so players from that roster. That clearly helps, but still, nonetheless, remarkable job there in Hattiesburg by Coach Huff.
All right, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, 7 p.m. Eastern, last kickoff for the Sun Belt. Let's move over to the late third, beginning of the fourth quarter. It's 24-20 in favor of Georgia State. Georgia Southern scores a touchdown, and that's fueled by a 35-yard pass from French to O.J. Arnold, set them up at the Georgia State 2. Now, with that touchdown, it's now 27-24 Georgia Southern. Georgia State would fumble after a completed pass around the Georgia Southern 34-yard line. Southern would recover. They would proceed to march it down the field for a touchdown, 34-24 Georgia Southern. Georgia State has a 3-and-out. Southern scores a touchdown thanks to 2 big O.J. Arnold runs of 14 and 15 yards on the drive. Georgia State's next possession is a turnover on downs. Georgia Southern comes back in the fourth quarter to pull this one out, 41-24. Georgia State had 120 yards and penalties in this one, so that's obviously not going to get it done, but a big fourth quarter from Georgia Southern.
Do you think the seat is warm for Del McGee? Like, you've seen some of their biggest fans and supporters, and his biggest fans and supporters on X seem to kind of be clamoring that maybe he's not the guy. I don't know. Seems to be a great recruiter, but the coaching seems to leave a lot to be desired.
I bet he gets one more year, but it'll be like one of those like maybe short leashes next year.
Yeah.
All right. Week 9 preview, Thursday game, South Alabama at Georgia State. South Alabama favored by 6.5. Over under set at 56.5. I want no part of this game. I have no a pair of 0-3 teams in the Sun Belt, 1-6. I could see South Alabama just torching Georgia State. I could see South Alabama has trouble tackling. I could see Georgia State just throwing the ball a whole bunch, and the over under of 56.5 just gets obliterated. I see so many different possibilities. I'm just going to watch. It'll be interesting nonetheless.
I think the Panthers get the win this week. It being at home, disappointing loss against their rival in Georgia Southern. I think they take it out on South Alabama. South Alabama is a team that's like, I don't know. They're just very puzzling because they have the pieces to be better than they are, right? You got Bishop Davenport, Kentrell Bullock, Devin Vosen, Anthony Eager. At least offensively, like they got quality players at those skill positions, and I don't really know what's ailing them. I'm assuming it's turnovers and penalties, and making timely mistakes at inopportune moments. But man, like it seems to happen to them every single week. Yeah, I think the Panthers are gonna get a win here for Del McGee at home against South Alabama.
All right, now let's move over to our Saturday games. Got App State at ODU. ODU favored by 13.5. Over under set at 63.5. Old Dominion's defense hasn't been looking as lights out as you would think. I almost I think I might take the over 63.5. I think this could be a huge offensive game because, like I said, with JJ Cole back there, App State's kind of looked closer to what they looked like in the first couple weeks of the season, but he's a statue back there. So if ODU can get to JJ Cole, it could be a lot of sacks.
That's the one thing that I look back at the last two games and what did Marshall have? What did JMU have? Had two very mobile quarterbacks in Carlos Del Rio Wilson and Alonzo Barnett III, and App State doesn't have that. And so I think that's good news for Old Dominion. This is Old Dominion's homecoming game. It is a noon start, so it's a pretty early game. Man, like I hope the guys get it together. They're too talented of a team to have the two showings that they did the last 2 weeks. I know the players feel embarrassed. The players aren't happy with what happened the last 2 weeks, and they want to do better. But this, to me, this is a critical game, because if they lose this game, lose 3 in a row, man, I could see the wheels kind of falling off, especially in this day and age, right? Guys, start questioning, hey, well, I'm probably not going to be at Old Dominion next year. I'm going to go play at this school or that school, and they're going to give me this or that. And so I need to worry about my health. And I don't know, like, I hate to say those kinds of things, but just in today's college football landscape, that's a reality.
So something will be interesting, because you'll be at the game. I want to know what Jakari Lewis looks like in person.
Yeah.
Like, he just seems to run through the tackles really well, utilizing the passing game. He seems like an all-around back. He's a true freshman. I'm curious at what he looks like in person.
I mean, App State's another team we have trouble with. We have trouble with Marshall. We have trouble with JMU, and App State's another one we have trouble with. I think we've only ever beat them once in our history, and it was the last time we played them at Old Dominion. I'm hoping to see more fight from the Monarchs in this one, and hopefully they can get the win and get things turned back around and go on a long win streak, and maybe win 9 games on the season, which would be, most, I think, before the season, if you told Old Dominion fans that ODU won 9 games, they'd be ecstatic. Unfortunately, I think the way it's played out, they're not going to be so happy, because, like, there was hope of so much more that's kind of faded a lot at this point. But hopefully they can get things turned around against App State for homecoming this week.
All right, Louisiana Monroe at Southern Miss, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Southern Miss favored by 11.5 points, over under set at 50.5. I don't know what's going on with UL Monroe as of late, but they're kind of in a little tailspin. Southern Miss clicking. I look for Southern Miss to keep things rolling. I'm going to lay the points with the 11.5 with Southern Miss.
Yeah, two teams kind of going opposite direction, right? Southern Miss ascending to the top, UL Monroe going to the bottom. Their quarterback play isn't good. Talked about it last week. If UL Monroe can't run the ball, they really don't have much else going on offense. Southern Miss seems to be playing well, and like I said, great turnaround there by Charles Huff. I agree with you. Give me Southern Miss minus the 11.5.
All right, Louisiana at Troy, 7 p.m. kickoff. Troy favored by 8.5. Over under set at 47.5. I'm going to stay clear of this one. Troy 8.5 is, I think, a big number, but their defense is playing well. Like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to lay the points with Troy. But I don't like that 8.5 number. But I look for Troy to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens there with the quarterbacks, right? You saw Walker Howard for a brief moment. Another week away from his injury. Are they going to make a switch to back to Walker from lunch? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I think
they played well with Walker those first couple of weeks.
Yes, they did. They did. But they had a couple good games with lunch too. But I feel like Walker gives them the best chance at a win. So it'd be interesting to kind of see who they start at quarterback this week. I tend to agree with you. I think Troy wins, but it's not a game that I'd feel comfortable putting any money on.
All right, Georgia Southern at Arkansas State. Another game I'm going to stay away from. Both teams 3 and 4 coming into this one. Arkansas State favored by 2.5 at home. Over under set 62.5. Again, Georgia Southern, Jekyll and Hyde team, think they're going to win. They get blown out. Think they're going to get blown out. They make a close game. They win. Arkansas State just hasn't been playing well all season long. This one, it might be more fun to watch because you're like watching a train wreck. This is what this could turn into.
Absolutely, I agree. Like, I don't think I'd want to bet on this game. Like, but to your point, like, Georgia Southern's very up and down. Arkansas State, they other than the game against Texas State. I mean, I know they won last week, but they didn't look good. Like, the Texas State game was the only game I feel like they've looked like maybe we had expected all year. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, the way the season's gone for both of these teams, it just kind of feels like this could be a crazy shootout competitive game. But yeah, man, from a betting perspective, it's definitely one that I would stay away from. Be interested to see if Corey Rucker and can get going. It's two good receivers. You got Camden Brown on the Georgia Southern side, Corey Rucker on the Arkansas State side. I think it'll be an entertaining game, to your point, Luke. So definitely one I wouldn't mind watching, but it's not something I'm gonna put any money on.
And Kerry says Georgia Southern just not a good road team. So maybe you do take the 2.5 there with Arkansas State and just hope and pray. All right, let's move on over to our Mountain West Conference games. Friday in review. San Jose State at Utah State. This one was a fun game. Not the game I was expecting. It was a defensive battle in the first half. Utah State would get back Ike Larson, and he made his presence felt. I think I described to you, Justice, as like back into the old NFL times when they were highlighting big hits. I mean, they were legal. They were huge hits. Both defense hitting hard, but it's like Utah State would get back up after the hits, and San Jose State players stayed down when they got hit. Especially
that one hit. I was gonna say that one hit on Scudero. What they called it targeting, then reviewed it, and then it wasn't targeting. Like,
yeah,
that was a big hit by Clarkson.
Utah State, San Jose defense just came ready to hit. Second half would be more like what I expected, but a little bit slower pace. We saw 19 points scored in the first half, 24 in the third quarter. Let's head to the fourth quarter. San Jose State would take the lead 25-24 on a 45-yard passing touchdown from Eget to Leland Smith. They would miss the 2-point conversion. Utah State would get a field goal in their next possession to go up 2. San Jose State would go for it on 4th and 1 on their own 47 with Steve Chavez Soto getting stuffed for no gain. Utah State would eat up nearly 2 minutes and tack on another field goal to go up 5, 30-25. San Jose State with a chance to win it. They would have the ball at their own 18. However, ultimately penalties, 3 false starts. One caused a timeout as a procedure penalty would have caused a 10-second runoff. And the pressure just being given by Utah State with only a 3-man rush was too much for the Spartans to overcome. Utah State wins this one 30-25. Like I said there at the end of the game, Utah State's only doing a 3-man rush, and they were getting pressure, which should not happen at all. Definitely made it hard for the Spartans there.
Yeah, I mean, Danny Scudero was not 100% healthy, I think, in that game, right? And so that was a big difference, and he took that big shot from Mike Larson, and that was pretty late in the game. He did get up, but it was the second worst hit I saw all week. The Tulsa kicker took the worst hit on that attempted onside kick, but that was a pretty big hit on Danny Scudero too.
All right, let's move over to our Saturday games. Wyoming at Air Force. This game was about Air Force running game and timely forced turnovers. Liam Sarka, 26 carries, 141 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Owen Allen, 10 carries for 105 yards. Air Force defense has struggled all season, but this week they forced 2 critical turnovers in the fourth quarter. The game's tied at 14 in the fourth. Air Force offense just had 2 turnovers on downs. Or just had a turnover on downs. Wyoming is slicing through this defense like butter. On 3rd and goal from the 3, they're intercepted in the end zone. Air Force would cap that drive off with a touchdown to go up 21-14. Next Wyoming possession, an interception, and Air Force is able to turn that into 3 points to go up 24-14. Wyoming would score a touchdown with 1:02 left. Now down 3. But on 3rd and 4, Liam Sark is able to get 5 yards on the play, ice the game. Air Force wins 24-14.
Yeah, and it resulted in offensive coordinator Jay Johnson losing his job. The offense for the Cowboys has not looked good last year or this year, so not a surprising move. Be interested to kind of see what kind of juice we see on offense moving forward for the Cowboys.
UNLV at Boise State. This one was one I was looking forward to. This is all Boise in the first. They're up 14-2. Second was a scoring fest. 35 points were scored. The key portion of this quarter was Maddox Madsen's INT that would result in a UNLV touchdown, and it was Boise State 28-24 at the half. Third quarter, all Boise. As they pull away in this one, they score 2 touchdowns. Calandria throws a pick six to Amarian McCoy, who returns it 60 yards for the touchdown. They're up after 3, 49-24, and Boise State goes on to win this one 56-31. This is what we were talking about 2 weeks ago when I was on.
Yeah.
UNLV, their record was great, but just seems like any matter of time before their defense gets got, and they got in this one. Boise State wins.
They were winning the games, but they were winning shootouts even against their FCS opponent Idaho State. Like I said, they had a great record, but they didn't seem as good or as strong of a team as their record would lead you to believe. And Boise State, the best team they played up to this point all year, and Boise State beats them pretty handily.
All right, Hawaii at Colorado State. Hawaii winning 14-7 at the half. Hawaii would get the ball to start the third, drive down the field, cap off the drive with a 9-yard touchdown pass from Alejado to a heating up Jackson Harris. Hawaii's up 21-7. Colorado State would go 3 and out. Hawaii would tack on 3 more to go up 24-7. Colorado State would try to make things interesting as they scored 12, but failed both 2-point conversions, and Hawaii would have a 3 and out. Colorado State down 11 with 6:50 to go. Hawaii ices the game with a 35-yard touchdown run by Cam Barfield. Hawaii up 31-19. They go on to win by that score. Norvell fired. He was on the hot seat coming into the year. Kind of figured he might be one. I thought Colorado State was going to be in the conference championship game. That's how I viewed the talent they had on this field and what they had in front of them from the schedule. And it did not go to plan, and he is out.
And Alejado, like we talked, like Katz and I talked about last week, man, this is the offense we expected to see all year. Alejado and, throwing to Ashlock, throwing to Jackson Harris. Looks when that run and shoot, and he's got that thing going. It's a pretty awesome sight to see. And Hawaii's having a great year. Maybe just maybe they can make it to the Mountain West Championship game. We'll see.
All right, Nevada at New Mexico. Momentum shifts or what this game was highlighted by. Kind of go over like about 4 different points in this one. So you got the first quarter, New Mexico's up 7-3. New Mexico goes for it on 4th and 6 from the Nevada 42. Jacqueline sacked by Jonathan Maladano. He's all over. Like if you haven't watched him, like Nevada doesn't have a lot of things going, but Jonathan Maladano, very good defensive edge. But to start the second quarter, Nevada's unable to move the ball. They have to punt it back. They pin the Lobos at the 9-yard line, and New Mexico leans on the run and some Nevada penalties to move the ball down the field. They cap it off with the Scottre Humphreys 1-yard touchdown run. New Mexico up 14-3. So that's kind of like New Mexico had a chance, or Nevada had a chance, but New Mexico kind of perseveres, get a touchdown. Nevada scores a field goal, so now it's 14-6. New Mexico fumbles it. Nevada's able to turn that into 7 points. However, Nevada would go for it on 2, not get it. So, all right, we got Nevada getting that momentum back. It's 14-12 in favor of New Mexico at the half. Now, in the third, beginning of the fourth, it was all about execution. Nevada had a turnover on downs. New Mexico would score a touchdown in 4 plays. Later in the third, New Mexico would have their turnover on downs, but Nevada possessed the ball into the fourth quarter, have a 9-play drive, but they were only able to get 3 points compared to New Mexico's 7. It's 24-22 New Mexico at this point, and New Mexico would miss a 34-yard field goal, but Nevada would not get past the 50 as they tried to go for the win. New Mexico holds on 24-22.
I think Jackson Eck had a pretty big game for the Lobos. The Lobos they are 4-3 now. Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, looks like they're going to get the bowl eligibility this year. So kudos to Coach Eck and getting the Lobos to that point.
All right, let's get into our Week 9 previews. We've got Friday game, Boise State at Nevada, 10 p.m. Eastern. Boise favored by 21.5. Over/under set at 51.5. Nevada not been playing well. 1-6 on the year. I'm going to lay the points with Boise as I think they try to make a statement here. It doesn't matter if they're second string. Doesn't matter if they're third string. Boise State can ball.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of shocked Boise State. I guess because they beat UNLV and the voters see that UNLV the good record there, and so I don't know. I don't think this Boise State team is in real contention for that G5 playoff spot. But they obviously are in contention to still win the Mountain West. I think they roll over Nevada. Nevada, while looking improved, I still don't think they have anything for the Broncos in this one.
All right. This one did not have a time, but it has been now moved to 3:30 p.m. Eastern. It's San Diego State at Fresno State. San Diego State favored by 3.5. Over/under set at 48.5. San Diego State 5-1. Fresno State 5-2. But I feel like San Diego State is a lot better than Fresno State. This one might be just a defensive struggle, but I think I'm going to lay I don't love having the hook there with 3.5, but I think I might lay the points with San Diego State. They're playing good ball.
Yeah, I mean, Lucky Sutton's he's been on fire. Jordan Napier, receiver. Trey White, the defensive end for the Aztecs. Like, he had a slow start, man, but he's been coming on strong the last few weeks. And like Fresno State, like, I don't know, like they've won some games, but they haven't been very impressive. Not in the last few weeks. Mikey Keene, there was some talk about would Mikey Keene get the start this week. I think I saw where Coach Ince today said that they worked on some things with Mikey about not getting too down on himself when he makes bad decisions or they have turnovers. So they expect Keene to start, but I think San Diego State is the much better team here, and I'd have no problem betting San Diego State minus the 3.5. I think Lucky Sutton and Jordan Napier are going to have big games, and that San Diego State defense is going to force Mikey Keene to beat them, I think, through the air, and I don't think that's a winning recipe for the Bulldogs.
So you keep talking about Mikey Keene. Are you talking about EJ Warner?
I'm sorry. Yes.
I'm just like, where's Michigan coming in? I was very confused.
I'm sorry, man. Yeah. I had an old brain moment. I'm talking about EJ Warner. Yes. There, like I said, that there was the quote that I saw something where Ince was with this. They worked with him on the bye week not to get too down on himself when he has turnovers and incompletions. But yeah, sorry about that, man. Yeah, definitely was talking about EJ Warner.
Brett's in the chat. Welcome, Brett. All right,
man. Sometimes we have those old people moments.
Yeah. Then we got Utah State at New Mexico. This one's at 3 p.m. Eastern. New Mexico favored by 2.5 at home, 61.5 point over under. I I like Utah State in this one. Having Ike back, this defense is just it's playing a little bit different. New Mexico, obviously, defense has been playing well. I think I'm going to take Utah State in the points. Both teams 4-3 coming into this one. Utah State 2-1 in the Mountain West. New Mexico 1-2.
The one thing that's kind of surprised me, it seems like both Bryson Barnes and Miles Davis have kind of played. Their play has been kind of inconsistent, right, on a week-to-week basis. We thought we'd get a shootout the last couple of weeks with Utah State, and it just really didn't happen. We've seen them alternate quarterbacks. Bryson Barnes, maybe he's not fully healthy. Maybe that's what the issue is. I'm not really sure. I want to take Utah State and getting the 2.5 points, but it just, to me, really kind of hinges on the health of Bryson Barnes. Is he able to play like he was early on in the season before he got hurt? Should be a good game nonetheless. I think New Mexico's a much improved team this year overall. Last year, like they were. Bronco had them going, and they're playing much better than they had in previous years. That's an extra side to this game, right? Is the Bronco Mendenhall factor? Like,
yeah.
Maybe it's a bigger deal for the fans than it is for the actual players. But going from being in New Mexico 1 year and now you have your chance to go against them could add a little extra juice, if you will, a little fire for the Lobos, but. I expect it to be a competitive game. If I'm betting something, I'm probably taking Utah State in the points, though.
All right, and a game that I don't know. We'll see how much of it I watch. Colorado State at Wyoming, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Wyoming favored by 6.5 points. 46.5 point over under. We've got Wyoming with a new offensive coordinator. We got Colorado State with a new head coach.
New OC too.
New OC, yeah. I mean,
I don't know. Give me. I think give me the Cowboys, man. Like, they're playing in Wyoming. I think the change gives them a little bit of juice. We always talk about Wyoming's a hard place to play. You got a new play caller, new offensive coordinator there for Colorado State. I think I think the Cowboys are going to win this one. I think the momentum of getting getting rid of what the perceived problem was in the OC is gonna give them a big boost. I think Colorado State's going the other direction, unfortunately.
Yep. All right. Let's move over to our Mid-American Conference Week 8 in review. Saturday, MACtion games, Central Michigan at Bowling Green, 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Drew Pine out for this game, and we see Anderson III get the start. Is it Lucien?
Lucien, yep.
Overall, stats-wise, this game was close. Bowling Green would throw 2 interceptions, and the first would come in the second quarter as they were up 3-0. Jordan Kwiatkowski would return the interception 26 yards down to the 1 yard line. Central Michigan quarterback Angel Flores would run it in, one of his 3 rushing touchdowns on the day. Bowling Green would go on to have a 3-and-out and a turnover on downs with their next 2 possessions. CMU would cash it in for 10 points, 17-6. Central Michigan at the half. Central Michigan would hold Bowling Green to 14 plays, 49 yards, and 0 points in the third quarter. Central Michigan, however, would have 15 plays, 89 yards, and 10 points. After 3, it's 27-6, and that would end up being your final. CMU gets the W. Eastern Michigan at Miami. Miami was 11 for 15 on third downs, 1 for 1 on fourth downs. So just very, very efficient in this game. Eastern Michigan dominated via the air, 309-159, while Miami dominated on the ground, 295-60. This allowed Miami to control the ball as they just dominated the time of possession, 42 minutes and 9 seconds compared to 17 minutes and 51 seconds. The game came down to three things during the game. Miami scoring in the first when both teams were kind of just feeling each other out. Miami scored a touchdown following a Noah Kim interception in the third, and taking a safety in the fourth. Miami ends up winning, or I guess Eastern Michigan took a safety in the fourth. Miami wins 44-30. Kent State at Toledo. No chip in this one. Kent State would get out to a fast lead in this one. First offensive play was a 75-yard pass. Drew DeShields to Cade Wolford. Kent State would be up 10-7 after one, despite the 17-10 score at the half in favor of Toledo. Starting at about the 118 moment in the first, Toledo scored 38 unanswered points. In the third, we'd see Kent State be held to 28 yards. They threw an interception. They'd have a blocked punt for a touchdown. In addition to the blocked punt for a touchdown, we saw Toledo score 14 points with their offense. Kent State was 3 for 13 on third downs, had 8 penalties for 57 yards. Toledo wins this one 45-10.
This was a good Tucker Gleason game. I mean, we're gonna get a bad Tucker Gleason game this coming week. The Jekyll and Hyde of Tucker Gleason.
A game that was very interesting. Buffalo at UMass. Buffalo controlled the first, but was only up 3-0 after one. The second quarter would belong to UMass running back Brandon Hood. He had 4 rushes, 132 yards, and a touchdown. His 90-yard touchdown run put UMass up 14-3, but Buffalo's Victor Snow would score from 23 yards out, just under 3 minutes to go in the half, and it would be 14-10 at the half in favor of UMass. Third quarter, slightly Buffalo's. If I'm doing boxing, it's like, what is it? 8, 10-8, 10-7, something like that. And Buffalo would be up 21-20. It would be 21-20 UMass going into the fourth quarter. And then in the fourth, the team would trade punts. UMass would miss a 54-yard field goal. And then they would intercept Roberson at the UMass 19, but would travel negative 14 yards on the drive thanks to an unsportsmanlike conduct foul on first down. Buffalo's fueled by 2 big passes. Josiah Gathings for 14 and 20 yards. The drive would end at a 16-yard pass from Victor Snow, or to Victor Snow, that ends in a touchdown. Nick McMullen would catch a 2-point try. Buffalo goes up 28-21 with 19 seconds left. Buffalo wins. Buffalo's had way too many games coming into the last drive. The games won a couple, lost a couple. But this Buffalo team is not what I expected. Going into this year, sitting at 4-3 right now. However, 3-0 in the MAC. Yeah,
I mean, it feels like the defense has not lived up to expectations this year for Buffalo, and maybe the offense too, to a certain degree. But to your point, they seem to kind of play to the level of the competition, right? They've never. I don't feel like they've really blown anyone out. If they've won, it's always a close game. Well, I mean,
at Kent State, struggle. At UMass, struggle.
The defense has been a bit of a disappointment compared to, I think, what our expectations were preseason.
All right, Akron at Ball State. Akron would have the lead at the half, 15-14. Third quarter was all Quay Ashley with 102 rushing yards on 5 attempts. In the fourth, Ball State was up 35-28, and following an Akron field goal, they kicked it off to Ball State, and TJ Horton would run the kickoff for a 90-yard touchdown to go up 42-28, and that would be your final. Northern Illinois at Ohio. This one was all Ohio. First quarter, 35 yards for Northern Illinois, 105 for Ohio. It's 14-0 after one. In the second quarter, 48 yards for Northern Illinois compared to 130 yards for Ohio. Ohio would throw an interception, but there's about 11 seconds left to go in the first half. Ohio's up 21-8 at the half. In the second half, Ohio had 5 possessions. They scored a touchdown on 3 of them. They would also return a touchdown, a fumble recovery for a touchdown. So, you give that back, that essentially the 5 possessions, that gives you one in there. It's like 4 touchdowns in 5 possessions. Then they iced the game with their last possession. So it was a moot point all second half, all Bobcats. They go on to win this one 48-21.
Yeah, this is the Northern Illinois we talked about last week. They have no passing game, right? And so like all you gotta do is shut down the running game. They've never been a prolific passing team, but like this year, like the passing game is just completely inept. And so teams just stack the box, shut down the running game, and that's how you beat Northern Illinois. I'm sure Coach Hammond will get things turned around, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year.
All right, let's get to our Week 9 previews. All games on Saturday. We've got Bowling Green at Kent State, 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Bowling Green favored by 8.5 points. Over under set at 48.5. Both teams 1 and 2 in the MAC. I think Bowling Green is the better team. We'll see if Pine plays or not.
I think it depends
Pine
if
plays.
Yeah.
If he plays, Bowling Green lay the points. Otherwise, I'm just kind of steering clear of this one.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean that line tells me that Drew Pine's playing. Because if Drew Pine's not going to play, you'd think it'd be the spread would be a lot closer. I agree with you. Kent State's an improved team compared to previous years, but Bowling Green I think has a little bit more talent if Drew Pine plays. But yeah, I'm not putting any money there.
All right, Ohio at Eastern Michigan, 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Ohio favored by 12.5 points. Over under set at 59.5. I honestly feel like you have to take the over in the points. Eastern Michigan's going to throw a bunch. I think they're going to – in Ohio, I think they're going to throw, and then once you get into the red zone, it's like, all right, we're going to hand it off. We're going to score. I just think we're going to – Eastern Michigan has been a sneaky team of just putting up a lot of points. So I think I would take the over in this one.
Yeah, I think that's the play in this game. Parker Navarro, he hasn't lived up to Parker Navarro standards the last couple of weeks, I feel like.
Yep.
And this feels like a game where he can kind of explode. But also, like to your point, I think Eastern Michigan is going to score some points as well. I do expect Ohio to win, but I think I'd be most comfortable taking the over.
All right. Next game, also I guess this one would be a 1 p.m. kickoff Eastern. Akron at Buffalo. Buffalo favored by 9.5 points. Over under set at 47.5. I guess I got to take Akron in the points. Just Buffalo, the way they've been playing lately, I don't feel comfortable. Like 9.5 points is a lot.
It's a lot,
even if it is Akron.
a lot for Buffalo. Yeah, 100%. Have they? I'm looking now. Have they won any game by that? They beat Eastern Michigan by 1. They beat UMass by 7. They beat Kent State by 3. The only game they've won by that many points was against St. Francis, FCS school. So yeah, I tend to agree with you. I would take Akron in the points because I think Buffalo wins the game, but I don't think they're going to win by 10 points, which is what they'd have to win to beat that spread.
Which is wild. Thinking,
yeah.
A year later, that's just wild. All right, Toledo at Washington State, 3:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Washington State favored by 1.5, 47.5 point over under. What I'm looking for in this game is, I think this will be telling for Toledo. Like, honestly, I think if Toledo's the team that I think that they can be, they win this. You take Toledo in the points. Washington State hasn't been great, but with Zevi Eckhouse under the helm, they've been a lot better. But if they get whacked by Washington State, like that wouldn't surprise me, but I'm just kind of curious of where Toledo is in their trajectory. So that's what I'm just kind of I want to see. I think I get a feel for the rest of the season of Toledo based off this game.
I don't know. To me, it feels like a Tucker Gleason terrible game, like he's known to have every now and then. So I think Toledo actually loses the game, which is just kind of crazy because I feel like from a pure talent perspective, they have one of the most talented rosters in the MAC. But man, Tucker Gleason, I feel like I say this every week. He's just not. He's not good. He's not good. He's good one game and terrible the next. I think this is going to be a terrible game for Tucker.
It's supposed to be 48 degrees at kickoff in Pullman, so maybe they just run the ball a whole bunch.
Hopefully, Chip's healthy. I think for Toledo to win, I think they're going to need a healthy Chip.
All right. Next game, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. We've got Western Michigan at Miami. Miami favored by 2.5 points. Over under set at 40.5. Both teams 4-3, 3-0 in the MAC. So this is a huge game in regards to what that conference looks like. I'm going to take Western Michigan. I'm going to take the Broncos on the road. Miami's defense hasn't been as, scary as it has been in years past. I like Western Michigan.
I'm gonna be contrarian. I like Miami. I think this is the game where Western Michigan plays a decent team. I think DeQuan Finn's gonna will the Red Hawks to victory. To me, if I'm betting, I'm taking Miami and laying the 2.5 points. Western Michigan, like I said, they're 3-0, but I don't think their hardest games are starting now, and it starts with Miami. I think Miami gets the W.
All right. Next game, also 3:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. It's UMass at Central Michigan. Central Michigan favored by 16.5. Over under set at 47.5. UMass looking for their first win. However, I do feel like 16.5 is a large number for Central Michigan because they've kind of been up or down. So I think I'm gonna.
They just want to run the ball, right?
Like I think I'm just gonna take UMass in the points. But don't feel great.
Yeah, I think Central Michigan wins the game. I don't know they win by 16.5. It just feels like a case of both teams going to run the ball some more. So I don't. I mean, if you're a fan of offense, it's probably not a game to watch. But yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think UMass keeps within 16.5, but I do think Central Michigan gets the win. Again, not an exciting game, not a sexy game. It's going to be two teams run the ball, pound the rock.
All right, and then our last game to talk about here: Ball State at Northern Illinois, 3:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Northern Illinois favored by 5.5 points. Over under set at 41.5. I'm going to take Ball State in the points here on the road. I think it's the Kelly and Ashley show. And obviously if they're able to stop the run, then Northern Illinois is going to have a little bit easier of a time, but I think they're just Northern Illinois so one-dimensional. Give me Ball State in this one.
I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think it's going to be even uglier than UMass and Central Michigan. Not something that I think I want to watch. Not something that's going to be entertaining. For me, it'd be an avoid. I think from a betting perspective. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised either team wins. I just think it's going to be a real ugly game. Both teams are kind of are similar in terms of, they don't have great passing games. They want to run the ball a lot. I don't know, man. Just an ugly game for MACtion on Saturday to close out the week.
You know what's been the most depressing right now looking at these? Maybe I'm just hoping to have the MACtion of a couple years back, but it's like you got Buffalo, Akron, 47.5. Toledo, Washington State, 47.5. Ball State, Northern Illinois, 41.5. Michigan, Central Michigan, Massachusetts, 47.5. Miami of Ohio, Western Michigan, 40.5. Just all clunkers. 55 is that, normal limit, and they're well below that.
Yeah, the only game that looks like it's going to be, from an offensive standpoint, going to be exciting is the Ohio Eastern Michigan game. The rest of them do not look like good games. It's not, MACtion. I feel like MACtion hasn't been MACtion for a while. It's going to be rough here in a couple weeks when we get to those Tuesday and Wednesday games when it's 13-10, 18-14, or those kinds of games. Those are ugly games.
And it's like it's different when it's like 47.5, but they're like offenses are clicking and you got some good defense. It's just like it hasn't been enjoyable football to watch.
Nope, sure hasn't.
All right. Well, that does it for our previews. 2020, again, those are going to be sent out in visual form on X and Instagram. Offense tomorrow on Tuesday, defense on Wednesday. So now we are ready for the waiver wire honey after week 8, going into week 9 by McGedden showing up again. Going to be a rough week. So we're here to help you out, and we're going to talk about quarterbacks first. I'm going to start us off. I'm going to offer you 3 quarterbacks in no particular order. You've got J.J. Cole, you've got Joe Fagano, you've got Nick Minicucci. J.J. Cole, they play ODU this week. He's 6% owned. His last 3 games in starting have been 20.32 points, 36.56 points, and 24.02 points. Like I said, 7 touchdowns. Those are 6-point touchdown league scoring. Playing pretty well. They're clicking there. Nick Minicucci still available in 24, or he's only rostered 24% of leagues. They've got Middle Tennessee. He's got no game under 24.18 points in his last 4 games. He's got 6 touchdowns on the ground in those 4 games. Another great option. And then Joe Fagano. While we're not talking about the 2020 guys, he is a 2020 option. He's 8% owned. They've got Rice this week. He's had 8 touchdowns, no interceptions in his last 2 games. Give me some Joe Fagano.
For my quarterbacks this week, so the first one is Noah Kim, Eastern Michigan, only 2% owned. They play Ohio this week. That's the highest over-under in a MAC game. He's obviously more valuable in a 6-point passing touchdown league because, like we said, that offense throws it around a lot. He's had 18-plus points in 4 of his last 5. So if you're in need of a quarterback this week, especially in a 6-point passing league, I would look at Noah Kim. Also from the MAC, my number 2 guy, Brock Lowry, Western Michigan, 5% owned. They play Miami this week. He's a dual threat quarterback, 20-plus points in his last 4. He had a season high of 34 points in his last outing, coming off a bye against Miami. They're going to lean heavy, and if Luke likes the Broncos to win, the Broncos are going to win. Brock Lowry is going to have a big game. And then my last one, he's on a bye this week, but Cale Hellam's Army, only 5% owned. The Army offense looks so much better with Cale at the helm versus Dwayne Coleman. He had 32 points this past week against Tulane, and he's had 27-plus points in each of his last 3 games. All right, moving over to running backs. My first running back, again, from the MAC, Jordan Gant, Akron, 11% owned. They play Buffalo this week. He's the bell cow of that Zips offense. He's getting a lot of volume. The one thing he doesn't have or hasn't gotten is a touchdown. He hasn't had a rushing touchdown since September 20th. So it kind of feels like he's kind of due for one. He's had double-digit points in 3 of his last 5 with a high of 29 points versus Central Michigan. Next up, this guy is on a bye this week. That's Evan Dickens from Liberty, only 10% owned. You go back to a couple weeks ago, it kind of looked like Evan Dickens was ready to take over and be that RB1 for the Flames. Then he got injured. He looked like he looked like he was back in the game against New Mexico State this week. He scored the 2 touchdowns, had 17 points. With the bye, it's another week for him to get healthy. So Evan Dickens could be a sneaky play. So maybe he'll get back on track and take over that Liberty backfield. And then my final running back is Coleman Bennett, Kennesaw State, only 5% owned. They played Florida International this week in a big Conference USA matchup. He's had double-digit points in his last 3, with a high of 21 in his last game versus Louisiana Tech. And that Kennesaw State offense has been looking good, and Coleman Bennett's a big part of that.
All right, my 3 guys in no particular order. Quay Ashley, 15% owned. They've got NIU in this game. He is averaging the 23rd most touches per game in the G5, 35 most yards per game in the G5. He's touching the ball about 15 times, getting you 77 yards per game. Then Ja'Kai Middlebrook, he's 20% owned. He's a 2020 guy, getting you almost 100 yards per game on 16 touches. And they have Delaware, which Delaware's defense has had some issues here and there. So I like Middlebrook. And again, he's had 20-plus touches in the last 2. And if they're down, he's utilized in that passing game. And then 15% owned Jay Ducker, Temple running back, going up against Tulsa. He's had his last 2 games have been 23.1, 18.9 points. He has had 3 touchdowns in that time frame, and he's had 220 yards in total offense in the last 2 games. It's like 9 from the passing. Everything else is from rushing. He's touching the ball about 15 times a game, getting you 85 on average. Look for Ducker to be utilized in the red zone against Tulsa. All right, now let's move over to the wide receivers. My first wide receiver I want to talk about here is Braden Pagan, Utah State wide receiver. They've got New Mexico this week. He's had double-digit points in his last 5 games. He ranks 19th in the G5 in yards per game with 77 and 37, 37th in the G5 in targets per game with 7. Been a nice target there for whomever is quarterbacking Utah State. Now, this one I'm a little bit nervous about, but he's 24% owned. Cortez Braum, again, who do we have at quarterback? You're going up against a tough Bulls defense, but he's had double digits in his last 5 outings. Definitely a guy to keep tabs on. And then my last wide receiver is Chauncey Cobb. He is 4% owned, plays for Arkansas State. They've got Georgia Southern this week. Georgia Southern been typically playing fast pace. His last 3 games have been 20.6 points, 10.9 points, and 12.8 points. He's had targets of 11, 8, and 7 the last 3 games. He's averaging 7 targets and 67 yards per game. I think maybe a plug and play. Chauncey Cobb for Arkansas State.
All right, my 3 receivers. First one is Wyatt Young, North Texas, 7% owned. They got Charlotte this week. He's had 22 and 34 points the last 2 weeks. Miles Coleman's kind of banged up. We saw Wyatt Young get 11 targets each of the last 2 weeks. Playing against Charlotte, expect to see a lot of Wyatt Young. Once again, they may rest Coleman again because of the opponent. My number 2 guy, I talked about him last week as well, as Asad Wasim, Florida Atlantic, 13% owned. They play South Florida this week. Number 2 wide receiver on a high volume passing attack, 13-plus points in the last 3. He's had 12 and 11 targets the last 2 weeks. So go out and pick up Asad Wasim. And my number 3 guy, third receiver, is Gabriel Benyard, Kennesaw State, 22% owned. They play Florida International this week. As a bonus, Benyard has dual eligibility, running back and wide receiver. He's had double-digit points in the last 4 games with a high of 23 points. And we expect the Kennesaw State Florida National to potentially have some high-scoring potential, and look for Benyard to go crazy in that game.
And then with the dual eligibility, huge for bye week and bye Mageddon this week.
Absolutely. All right, moving over to the tight ends. My first tight end, Peter Clark, Temple, 18% owned. He's got Tulsa this week. He had 12 points in week 8. He's had 18 total targets in the last 4 games and 2 touchdowns. They look for him in the red zone. And then my number 2 guy, going back to Eastern Michigan with Joshua Long, 6% owned. They play Ohio this week, high of 16 points in week 7. And he's getting you between 4 and 6 targets every single week, usually averaging 40-plus yards or so. In a week where we expect to shoot out there with Eastern Michigan and Ohio, I like Josh Long for the Eagles.
All right. Now, mine is Isaiah Cummings. He's right at 30% owned. He's a 2020 guy, third in the G5 in targets per game and yards per game. With JJ under center, he's had targets of 4, 6, and 8 his last 3 weeks, turning into 3 points, 21.4, and 12 points. Definitely like Isaiah Cummings. And then Brody Foley, 7% owned, Tulsa tight end. They've got Temple this week. I guess I forgot to mention Isaiah Cummings, App State, going up against ODU. Going back to Brody Foley, if you just need a home run, he's a guy here in week 9. He had last week a huge game, 126 yards, 6 receptions on 7 targets. On average, he's averaging 49 yards per game. He's 4th in the G5 in yards per game. He's got a 9.2 average depth of target, and he's 19th in targets per game with 3.4 in the G5.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our waiver wire, honey, after week 8. Like we said earlier, the 2020 guys, pay attention to the socials on that. In addition to us tweeting that stuff out, if you're interested in more, details on the 2020 guys, if you are a subscriber to the site, all those stats for 2025 for the 2020 guys, beyond even the top 10 or top 5, are on our website. So you can look up your favorite player, see what his havoc rate is, or look up your favorite safety and see what his adjusted net yards against per coverage snap. So all the stats that we use to determine the 2020 guys, we have all that and more up on the website in our data suite. So if you're really into the 2020 guys, go check that out on the website. Thanks, Brett. We appreciate it. Hopefully, it'll continue to grow, and you guys enjoy the content there. As I said, this is version 1. It's kind of really geared towards college fantasy football, but as we grow, we will have more and more coverage of football in general. Still watching us on YouTube? Please hit that like and subscribe button. On X, give us a follow. If you're listening, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. Thank you all for the support. Thank each and every one of you for all the support through the website, on YouTube, on our socials. Be sure to join us, come back and join us next week as we discuss what happened in week 8. And we look forward to week 10 in G5 college football. And as always, bring you up to the latest news and happenings in the world of G5 college football. Until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.
First